News Channel 13, live at 5, begins right now.
I think he's telling the truth.
Tonight's top story, an all-out search. Police want to know if the father of the missing boy knows more than he's letting on. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Jim Kingbrook. 12-year-old Jaliek Rainwalker of Greenwich has been missing since November 1st.
His adopted father was the last person to see the boy, but as News Channel 13's Mark Mulholland uncovered, the father has refused to take a lie detector test. Mark is live now in our Saratoga newsroom. He's got tonight's top story. Mark?
Well, Benita, a police source tells me Stephen Kerr first agreed to take the polygraph test, but backed out. Privately, police and members of Kerr's family are wondering if he's hiding something.
We're angling way out there.
Here on the perimeter of the Battenkill Country Club, a team of searchers looks for evidence of 12-year-old Jaliek Rainwalker. It's been 12 days since the boy, who his family calls troubled, was reported missing by his adoptive father, Stephen Kerr. Kerr made a cheerful plea last week.
Oh, Jaliek, if you're watching this, we'd love for you to come home.
Not long after the interview, Kerr and his wife agreed to take a lie detector test. His wife followed through. Kerr changed his mind. Is Stephen Kerr a suspect?
Anybody right now that had any contact with Jaliek is a suspect. I'm not saying that Stephen is or anyone else is.
At Stephen Kerr's home today, he wouldn't talk to us unless we turned off the camera. When I asked about his interaction with police, he told me he had no comment. As Kerr's mother-in-law pled for Jaliek's safe return today, she wondered why some in the family, without specifically naming Kerr, weren't being more cooperative with police.
I do have some reservations, but I do feel that if everybody just focuses on finding Jaliek, and that is our primary concern, then answers will come from that.
Kerr's father, a diplomat in Romania and the owner of the home where Kerr last saw Jaliek, says he believes his son.
I think he's telling the truth.
And says he might still take a polygraph test.
Yes, I think he might.
Would you encourage him to?
Yes, I would.
Stephen Kerr told me this afternoon that many people have told him to keep his statements brief and continue to focus on grieving. Live in our Saratoga newsroom, Mark Mulholland, News Channel 13.
Mark, they haven't released the results, though, of Mrs. Kerr's polygraph, have they?
No, they have not released her results, nor probably will they, because we know that those tests are often not admissible, but it would be interesting for police to see how Mr. Kerr did under those circumstances.
All right, Mark, thanks very much.
Now back to our top story. The family of Jaliek Rainwalker has hired a psychic, according to the Post-Star this morning. The search will continue in a few hours of a drained pond and then a swamp outside Greenwich, where the 12-year-old hasn't been seen in almost 2 weeks now. News Channel 13's John Allen has the latest.
I think at about 2 o'clock this afternoon we made the decision that we needed to drain that pond. We're not talking, it wasn't, you saw it wasn't an overly big pond, maybe 8, 9 feet deep. Took us 3-4 hours to get it drained. We searched it.
It was on November 1st that 12-year-old Jaliek Rainwalker was reported missing from his grandparents' home in East Greenwich. Dredging the small pond on the golf course of the Battenkill Country Club is following just one of what Police Chief George Bell says is nearly 200 leads given to police since Jaliek disappeared. According to the police chief, cadaver dogs were very interested in the pond, but even after it was drained, no body was found.
That scent could be laying in that water in that swampy area and could be coming from 500 feet away from the pond. 200 feet away from the pond. We're not sure. So that's something that needs to be checked out further tomorrow.
Tomorrow, the chief says the dogs will be out again, and searchers will conduct a shoulder-to-shoulder grid search throughout the swamp area adjacent to the pond. Last Friday, a prayer vigil was held for Jaliek, but now, nearly 2 weeks after this 12-year-old's disappearance, concern for his fate grows by the hour.
Last week, the police chief says Jaliek's adoptive mother took a lie detector test. He has not released the results of that test. He has not said whether or not Jaliek's father has taken the same test. Reporting to you from Greenwich, John Allen, News Channel 13.
Do you think Stephen harmed Jaliek? We don't know, and we don't want to answer that.
But Elaine and Tom Person say they do think Stephen Kerr may have resented that his adopted son had fun while visiting the couple. The person say Stephen told them Jaliek was out of control and asked the couple to watch the boy for a few days.
He said that things were not going well in the home and that his wife was afraid to stay with Jaliek alone.
The persons have watched Jaliek in the past and say every visit with him, including the most recent, has been wonderful.
He made me pudding one day, chocolate pudding, and I was like up in cloud nine myself.
An incredibly intelligent young man, very thoughtful young man. He must have read at least a book a day while he was here.
They say Jaliek was in great spirits when Stephen picked him up from their home on November 1st. The next day, Jaliek went missing, and Stephen called the persons.
November 2nd at 2:44 p.m. Hello, Elaine and Tom. This is Stephen Kirkbell. Just wanted to connect with you about Jaliek looking to run away, or he has run away. Sometime Thursday, Friday morning. Sometime 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I don't know. You hear this message again.
We don't believe that he ran away because there just was no place for him to go. And if he was going to run away, he probably would have come here. And we also don't believe that he would have killed himself.
Jaliek's maternal adoptive grandmother has implied she thinks her son-in-law may know something, but isn't speaking up.
I want to be wrong. That would be the best thing in the world for me, to be wrong and have Jaliek alive and well and happy.
Police have exhausted more than 200 leads, but still have no sign of Jaliek Rainwalker. John Allen was at tonight's prayer vigil for the missing 12-year-old, and John joins us live now from the newsroom. John?
Lydia, Jaliek Rainwalker's adoptive father was the last person known to have seen the 12-year-old alive, but now he stopped talking to the press, and his in-laws have questions he seems reluctant to answer. With candles held high and songs of hope, people looking for the safe return of Jaliek Rainwalker filled the Episcopal Church in Greenwich. Jaliek's adoptive father, Stephen Kerr, repeatedly told those gathered he knew Jaliek was alive, giving explanations that the 12-year-old was born to a cocaine-addicted mother and had been bounced around to more than half a dozen foster homes by the time he was 7. Kerr then spoke of Martin Luther King and what King had told African Americans in the 1960s.
The African Americans at that time had been given a bad check, had been given a check that said insufficient funds. And when Jaliek Rainwalker was born, he was given that same check.
Is there any reason that you think that a 12-year-old could possibly survive a few weeks outside like this without someone spotting him? Kerr wouldn't answer. Jaliek's paternal adoptive grandfather also believes Jaliek is safe, but gives no real reason.
Jaliek is a survivor. He always has been, and he always will be.
But Jaliek's maternal adoptive grandparents are taking a far different view. They say they know that Jaliek's adoptive parents had plans to try to find a new home for him. And they question whether their son-in-law has been totally upfront with police.
I've loved Stephen for 14 years. I have my doubts.
And they have doubts that Jaliek would just pick up and run away without a trace.
So he's not street smart. I just can't figure in my life how he could possibly just walk out a door with no clothes, no money, no duffel bag.